Ray Hunt on guitar and Dave Coronado on sax, and Ray Collins as lead vocalist, and called themselves the Soul Giants.
What kind of music were they doing?
They were doing straight commercial R&B. Gloria, Louie Louie.
Right,
You got it, yeah, the classic. Then Ray Hunt decided he didn't like Ray Collins and started playing the wrong changes behind him when he was singing. So I think that a fight ensued where Ray Hunt was permanently mutilated and decided to quit the band, leaving 4, and they needed a guitar player, so they called me up. So I joined the band, started working with them at the Broadside, and I thought it sounded pretty good. And I said, okay, you guys, now I got this plan.
The Red Sox are coming off victories in their previous 8 games. Hi again, everybody, and welcome. I'm Dwayne Kuiper, and it's another great night for baseball. Partner, are you ready for this one?
I sure am, Kite. This is going to be a great matchup.
Taking the mound to start for the home team, Matt Clement. Tonight's American League game is between the Chicago White Sox and the Boston Red Sox.
He's got a band now called Dave Coronado and the Stage Stretch Ramblers. Well, there was 4 original mothers, me, Ray, Jim Black, and Roy Estrada. And we starved, permanently mutilated, and decided to quit the band, leaving 4, and they needed a guitar player, so they called me up. So I joined the band, started working with them at the Broadside, and I thought it sounded pretty good. And I said, okay, you guys, now I got this plan. We're going to go and we're going to get rich, and we're going to do this thing, and you probably won't believe this when I tell you now, but if you just bear with me, we'll go out and do it. Well, Davey Coronado said, no, I don't want to do it. I think we'd never be able to get any work if we play that kind of music, and I got this job in a bowling alley in La Fuente, and I think I'm going to split. So he did. And he put together, I think he's got a band now called Davey Coronado and the Stage Stretch Ramblers or something like that. So there was 4 original mothers, me, Ray, Jim Black, and Roy Estrada. And we starved for about 10 months because we were playing a type of music which was grossly unpopular in that area. They couldn't identify with it. So we got into the habit of telling the audience to get fucked, and we made a big reputation that way. Nobody came to hear us play. They came in to see just how much they were very masochistic. We'd abuse them to death, and they'd love it. So we'd managed to get jobs just on that basis, but of course it wouldn't last very long because we eventually wound up abusing the owner of the club.
Leroy Jones
He's on first with a base hit. Kicked up off the ground hard enough to get past the infield for a base hit. That ball was smoked.
That's good. That's cathartic. So then we decided we were going to go to L.A., which is a distance of about 30 miles. It's a big city.
Yeah.
And we went in, and we'd added a girl to the group. Her name was Alex Stewart.
He's got
she
5
played
wins
very well.
and 13 losses
She
on the
sang
season.
very well on guitar. And I thought, well, I have an idea for combining certain modal influences into our basically country blues sound.
He's gone. 3 pitches, 3 strikes, doesn't get easier in that part.
Holland Wolf type stuff. So she played good fingerstyle guitar, but you couldn't play Louie Louie. You couldn't go da 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 da. She couldn't do that. Fired it. Then we got a hold of Henry Vestine, who was one of the most outstanding blues guitarists on any coast. He was really a monster. And he was part of the group for quite some time. And he decided that he didn't want to be a part of the group anymore because he started playing things that were strangers, and things kept getting progressively stranger, and he couldn't identify with what we were doing, and he wanted his freedom, so he said goodbye, Henry, and he split. Then there was 4 mothers again. Then we hired, and then Ray quit, the lead vocalist. He quit, and then there was 3 mothers. Then we hired Jim Gercio, who was He's now managing Chad and Jeremy. Yeah. Well, he was part of the group for a while. We had also, somewhere along the line, hired Steve Mann, who was another top blues guitarist on the West Coast. And he couldn't make it. And he wanted to do it, but he couldn't make the changes, so we got rid of him. Then we hired Elliot Ingber. And then Ray came back in the band, and now we had me and Ray and Roy and Jim and Elliot. And there was 5 mothers, and we cut the first album with those 5. And then right after the album leaded, and we worked over there. Then we came back and worked with Andy Warhol at the Trip, the show that closed the Trip, as they say. And then we went to San Francisco and played around there, and finally Elliot had to be fired.
One ball,
and,
one strike. Sometimes you try to make a hitter chase.
Again.
That's exactly what you saw right
We
there.
hired.
Gets the call for a
we had hired
strike.
Billy Monday. We had 2 drummers then. Just before we fired Elliot, we had a 6
Fly ball hit to shallow left.
Okay. Then we had 5. 2 drummers, bass, guitar, vocalist. And then we hired Don Preston, who plays keyboard instruments, electric piano, electric clavichord. And then we hired and then we hired Bunk Gardner. Now I had known Don Preston and Bunk Gardner like 3 years before I put the other guys together. See, I'd known him for a long time. Oh, and we hired Jim Fielder right about after we hired Don Preston. So now we have 8. But I'd worked with Preston and Gardner playing experimental music a long time ago. We got together in these garages and went through these very abstract charts and just entertained ourselves that way. Well, then we had a workable ensemble. The second album was recorded with all those 8 guys. No, and providing everybody at MGM goes along with the gag, they will release it. But there are certain parts of the album that seem to bring grave concern to the minds there at MGM.
How did the first album ever get recorded?
Well, I'll tell you the complete story of Freak Out album. First of all, you got to understand this project, although the band's been together about 19 months, the project was carefully planned about 3 years ago. I'd been looking for people to put together to do this number.
There's a runaround with 2 down.
I was in advertising show business, and I'd done a little motivational research and checked around. And one of the laws of economics that if there's a demand, somebody else will supply that demand, and you're going to get rich. Okay, so I pieced together
For more on MVP
a
baseball,
composite
log on to easports.com. EA Sports,
gap
it's
filling
in the game.
product. Our product fills most of the gaps that exist between so-called serious music and the mass public. In other words, really good music has been kept from the public by a filtering system of little old ladies who select the music played by community orchestras and radio stations.
What would you consider to be good music?
I would say contemporary music of
That was a tough pitch to hit. Look at the pitcher. He looks
advanced
stunned.
tendencies has been kept from the public at large.
In all areas, classical as well as popular.
Yes,
And,
yes, because it seems that a person, once they get to the position where they own a club or control the goings-on in a concert hall or something like that, they become a critic and a
tastemaker.
yeah, right, and they're stuck, and they hate music. They love business.
Right, yeah.
They hate music. See? And you have to know that out front before you even go into the business, because you're going to be dealing with these people. I know whenever I talk to the people on that level, I tell them, first of all, that I hate music, and I'm only in it for the money, and then they slap me on the back, and we get along fine. I grumble as much as I can. I hate that shit, man. It's
He
loud.
showed excellent command with his fastball right there.
I wish I could drive a cat, but I can't get a license. And so, then we get along. But
He delivers.
the public knows nothing of what's really going on in music today. Music as it exists, you take the outer limits of music, Wham, the most advanced work done today in the musical field, and the bulk of the population doesn't even know it's happened yet, because there are kids that are piddling along, writing their script saying, I just made up the most fantastic thing, and if they knew that the best that they could write today was already written and performed in 1912, like a piece like Amérique by Edgar Varese,
He delivers a called
written in
strike.
1912,
Partner, this guy really likes
scare
the ball
the
up
average
zone.
teenager to death, and really scare him to death. Vanguard just
He
released
misses
a
with a
recording of it.
100-mile-an-hour
My,
fastball.
First, it was the Rockefeller Grant that put it together. It's for a large orchestra,
No swing.
large percussion
He's got
battery,
one
it
pitch
uses
that
two
is
different
superior to the
sirens,
rest.
and it's just astonishing.
Is it even more, lively from music around?
Walks always
Much.
seem to come around.
Have you heard any of the
Falls
music
behind
of
the
Varese?
batter and just never gets back into his bat.
Well, let's see. He lived and died in New York. He died last February. His birthday is today, as a matter of fact.
Strike with a
December 22nd.
fastball.
He was born
He's
in
registered 6 wins and 10 losses on the season.
Paris.
That one's high
And
and deep. Going.
he lived at 188 Sullivan
Just missed
Street.
the home run.
And a lot of the people in the village knew him. And he was really an outrageous guy. And the stuff that he wrote, the average American doesn't even know he was alive, let alone that what he wrote has virtually changed the shape of all the music of the composers that have heard it, because of the way he dealt with percussion instruments.
How do you spell the composition of that?
Amériques,
Takes his
A-M-E-R-I-C-E-S,
turn at bat.
conducted by David
Here comes the
Abravanel,
first pitch of the at-bat. A ball.
Utah Symphony Orchestra, Vanguard. It's the best recording of a symphony orchestra that I've ever
The
heard. I
count's
got
even
a
at
stereo
one.
version of the thing, and you can hear the flute players breathing on the goddamn
You
thing. And
can't
it's
check
such
the
a
swing
big
in
orchestra.
time.
You wonder, and it doesn't even give the engineer credit on the
There's
album.
no way he went around.
That one's out to left.
This is a
A
masterpiece.
run scores. That's
But anyway, the kids don't know what the fuck is happening. And they
And
have a right to know, because all the music that lives today is being written by the young people.
All he's got to do right now is drive that ball to the outfield, pick up
Most
that
of
run
the, I won't say most, but a great quantity of the so-called serious music that's written in America today by the older cats is very sterile. It just doesn't
Split
happen.
finger misses
And
downstairs
it's
for a
still,
ball.
the reason it doesn't happen is because they never get a chance to hear it. How are you going to hear your mistake? What you write down on paper is a mere indication, in most cases, of what it actually will sound
Next
like.
up, Mike
You
Lowe.
can only guess so far until you get that into an actual acoustic environment and hear what the composition is going to be like. These guys never get a chance to find out what they're
The
missing
bases
out.
are loaded with nobody out. He gets it over for a strike.
Since the beginning, how did you start getting away from traditional forms and moving into your own form? So, I guess one way to start is to go. Can you remember the first piece of music you remember that really impressed you, and sort of take it from there, just the music that you were listening to and you were producing?
Get to the right
All
side.
right, wait, I just remembered something before I got to that. I never did tell you
A
how
run
the
crosses
Super
the
album
plate.
got taken.
The White Sox trail
Don't
2
worry,
runs
forget
to
that
1.
question. I gotta tell you, Wilson came to the Whiskey A Go-Go while we were five pieces
No balls
with
and one
Henry,
strike.
and heard us sing the Watts
Here's the
Riot
pitch.
song. And he stayed for 5 minutes and said, yeah, slap on the back, shake my hand, wonderful, we're gonna make a record of it, goodbye. Didn't see him again for
Drive
that.
right to the second baseman.
Sure, so he thought we were a rhythm and blues band. We went back, honey, I'm not a rhythm and
RBI
blues band.
single.
And they got this song about, got a couple of niggers in it, and it's this nigger in there, I don't know what it is, there's a protest song, and yeah, we got them, man, they'll be okay. A couple of singles maybe, and then they'll die out. Alright, so then, he came back to town,
He averages about 6
just
strikeouts
before we
per
were going to
inning.
set up the first session.
And the run comes home.
And we had a little chat in his room. That was when he first discovered that that wasn't the only thing that we played. And then things started changing, in terms of what we were going to do. We decided not to make a single, we were going to make an album. So he wouldn't give me an idea what the budget was on
The
the
White
album.
Sox have
But
activated the bullpen.
the average rock and roll album is going to cost about $5,000.
Manager's going out to stall, so his
The
guy in the bullpen can finish warming
cost
up.
on Freakout was somewhere around $21,000.
Up next,
But what happened was, when the first day we went into the studio, the first tune we cut was Anywhere the Wind Blows. Unfortunately, bad mix, but the track was really good on that. And when we heard the track played back on that thing,
misses
we
for a
just went,
ball.
Sometimes
then
you
we
try to make a
recorded
hit
Who Are the
chaser.
Brains
That's exactly what you saw right there.
and he got on the
Three
phone and
balls,
called New
no
York,
strikes.
and I got the thing, I don't know what the fuck is going on, but yeah. So then I got more or less an unlimited budget to do this next record. Next day, I looked up these arrangements for a 22-piece orchestra, and they were wheeled in the following day, and we cranked out the 4 large orchestra songs, which is not just a straight orchestra accompanying the singers. It was like the Motors 5-piece band plus 17 pieces, and they were all working together. And
He can throw 4 different pitches.
then the editing took a long time, which ran the cost up.
And another
meanwhile,
strike, it's
Wilson was
0-2.
sticking his neck out, and he laid his job on the line to produce a fucking thing.
That's a
And then,
3-pitch strikeout.
I think we would
Hey,
have
the
sold
pitcher wins the battle.
250,000
Sweet
albums
pitch to get
by
the
now
K.
if MGM would have, one, not moved offices and slowed down
Stepping
in
in,
its
Manny Ramirez.
type of what the album was, and two, simply distributed the advertising material that was paid for, out of our account to hype the record. Well, they got buttons and stickers and stuff sitting up the office now that were never gotten to the stores.
He's trying to score from third. The runner scores on the sac fly.
Well, it's my fault.
To me, that's a successful
I've got it in
pass.
my
Anytime
room
you can
right
try to
now.
run,
I'm
you've done your
finishing it
job.
all. I got the first side finished, but see, I made the map, and then all these things started happening. Disaster A, disaster B, and now I'm redoing the thing on there about Pandora's box, and you want to get that on there. And we've got people that are sent for it that are screaming for their bread, so it's going to go out. I'll finish the thing off with you.
This pitcher has 1 solid pitch, and he throws it a
It's just a
bunch.
question of redoing that and putting some
Takes a
pictures
pitch
on the
high,
other side of
one
the
ball
map.
to
It would be really good.
Sometimes you try to make the hitter chase your pitch.
So
That's
that's how
exactly
it
what you
first
saw
got
right there.
together.
How has it been selling, by the way?
And that's a
Selling very
strike.
well. In
That
fact,
is
the
pinpoint control right there.
MGM
The catcher set a
felt that
target
they
on the
had
corner,
spent
and
too
the
much
pitcher
money
just
on it
hammered
already,
it for a
and we're going to
strike.
let it die. But it started selling again, and it kept on selling, and now I don't know what it is. And I went down there the other day, and I went into this, big sales
That'll do it
guy's
for the
office. I
inning.
go, you guys are fucked. You don't know what you're doing. You've got the Beatles on your hands, and you're sitting there with your thumb up your ass, and you don't know what you're doing, man. He looked at me like, I'm just crazy. And I says, you sold, like this 1 week when we first came to New York. No extra hype, no nothing. There was 5,000 sales all over the country, and 40 of them in a town the size of a pumpkin in Wyoming. It was really unbelievable. And because they've just been letting it alone.
How have people been finding out about the album?
It's been word of mouth.
That
What
one's
do you know
chopped
of your
off the
following?
plate.
I mean, how is it
That's out number 1.
We have quite a strong following, and it's pretty big. Like there's this one kid who drove all the way from New Jersey on a motorcycle in the rain to see one of the shows at the balloon farm.
Ground ball,
Man, it was
get down the
practically
left
eating
side.
my shoes. And I said, what is
There's
this?
an out.
We made a record and we put it out there. I ain't anybody. We're from California, come out here, and here's this guy from New Jersey going out of his mind. He says, all the
He's
kids
batting
over there really
268
think you guys,
with 13 long balls and 42
So
runs
we're
batted
being
in.
surprised every place we go. We
Another
went to
good
the
two.
University
That
of
is a
Michigan
bad-looking
State.
swing right there.
Went across the street to a record store, do a little hype, as we had done in the past. 400 kids come blasting in there for autographs, man. In a store about as big as this office. And the guy had the albums all over the store.
After
This
2.5,
is
the White
it
Sox
was,
trail by 5.
blowing my mind.
Mahomes strolls to the plate.
They're out there.
It grows more. I hope, you get above
Knox
ground.
misses 1-0.
Sometimes you try to make the hitter chase your pitch. That's exactly what you saw right there.
No. Our aim is to kill top
Ball
40
misses
radio in the
inside.
next 6 months if possible. And we'll hear that second album.
Misses
See
for a
where that
ball.
might happen.
He throws an average
We've
four-seam
decided
fastball and mixes it up with
certain
an
concessions
average
have to be
sinker
made
and a
before a
two-seamer.
record is air playable,
Hitters
right?
count 3-1.
Now, I'm not in the business to compete with makers of hanky-pankies, you know. That record has
Payoff
got to
pitch
be
coming.
air playable, man. That can't hurt nobody. And it ain't going to move you either.
Hit to the left
And that's
side.
not why I'm writing
Pick it
music.
up on a
You know,
roll.
like the only
They
reason I
make
put
the
this
play.
thing together is I'm a composer and nobody wanted to hear any of my
Miyagi
music.
steps into the play.
Okay? It pissed me off.
This lefty is
So
not
I
hanging
said,
around
well, they don't
because
want
he
to hear
gets
it. I'm
through.
going to put me a band together and I'm going to make you listen to it,
Strike, and
motherfucker.
it's 0-1.
And we
He
did,
showed
you know,
excellent
and it's
command with
been
that
working,
strike
and
right on the edge of the
people are
zone.
listening to that stuff, you know, they're wondering
Gathers
why
it in
it's
with his
there
glove.
and
Two
why it
gone.
sounds like that, but I make them hear it, you know, and sometimes they like it.
Lowell comes to the plate.
Pay radio. You came up with a program like one of the early radio shows.
Right over the inside edge.
That's right, he will not lead his team in
Yeah.
strikeouts, and
And
he doesn't expect to
you call
either.
it pay radio because you can't get a
The
program
pitch
like
is
that
hit
on
to
the
center
radio.
field.
Yeah.
And satire doesn't go on network radio.
Another single.
Nothing
Exactly
spectacular
like
there,
that.
just a good old-fashioned
People
base
buy
hit to
records
get
and
things
listen
going.
to it at home.
Dirksen is the next hitter. No balls,
I think
one
the
strike.
WOR is doing a lot to kill top 40 radio.
It's hit down the line. He's on his way to third.
I think that people all over the
Stand
country
up
need to
double.
know about the situation here in town. I understand that the FM transistor sales are like 600% of
They
our
needed a big hit like that. This guy's got things going. What a good piece of hit. He got himself a double.
Well, as a matter of fact, Milton, what thing we're doing is like we're going to try to work a little bit about getting our readers to petition radio stations about exposing records that we haven't been playing.
The next batter is Lance Berkman.
That's the thing.
I think
Fastball
that
misses
somebody should make
upstairs.
Sometimes you try to make the hitter chase your pitch. That's exactly what you saw right there.
top 40 radio is
Fastball
unethical.
for a
Would you
strike.
like to make a statement about that?
Top 40 radio is unethical, unmusical, and it sucks.
Two ball,
Something
one
ought to be
strike
done about
count.
it immediately, preferably on a grassroots level.
The pitch is hit to left
if you
field.
go to the original,
That retires the side.
music, and first piece of music will grab you, and then it'll what you were listening to along the
After
way.
three, the score is
What
6-1.
it was doing to you and what came out of it.
My folks would never let me have music when I was young. My father wanted
He
me to be a
delivers.
scientist. Yeah, I had to be deprived childhood. Well, that's okay. They're all right. So anyway, but they didn't like the music well enough. Well, music,
sends
I
it a
take it or
long way
leave
to
it.
deep
You
center.
don't need a record
Puts it
player.
away
What's
for the
that?
out.
You know, you
He
got a
picked that
radio
ball
and you
right
got
off
a
the bat,
TV
camped under
set.
it for an easy out.
What do you need a record player for? So I was
Here
going to be a
comes.
scientist, and I was going to be a chemist, as a matter of fact. When I was 6 years old, I was already manufacturing some very effective explosives in the house. By the time I was about 12 or 13, I had nearly taken one of my legs off with a homemade bomb, and I decided, well, listen, maybe it's time I talked him into getting me a record player.
That ball is driven deep,
So
and
I
you
got
can
this
forget
record
it.
player, and my mother automatically decides, well, we got a record player. Maybe I'll get some of the records I like.
Well, the
So
batter
she
knew
went
as
out
soon as he
and
hit the
bought
ball
this
was
record
going to
called
get caught.
The Little
What an
Shoemaker.
impressive swing of the bat.
Remember that thing? The Rappy Tappy Trip?
Oh, the Haynes brothers or the four or something.
Yeah, the schmuckos. Well, anyway. Meanwhile, I was, the first single record I bought was Work With Me, Annie by the Midnighters, and then I got Loop De Loop Mambo and Riot and Cell Block number 9 by the Robins, who later became the Coaches. And I kept trying, my folks would always bash my hand, but I kept listening to Hunter Hancock on the radio in L.A. He was the first R&B disc jockey out there, about 11 or 12 years ago.
3 pitches, 3 strikes.
Old Age Day.
that was fine in a
Anyway,
hurry
he
for
used to
strike
play
3.
things like I by the Velvet. Do you remember that record? So slow, ooh, ah song.
Yeah.
I used to listen to that
This
stuff.
guy is
and
okay
then,
against right-handed pitching.
I grew up with all
Pitch in tight for a
R&B
ball.
music. Willie Mae Thornton and Johnny
The
Otis
delivery.
on the Peacock label before he had
There's
his
a
own
long
label, and then
drive.
later went to
Way
Capitol
back
Television
and
Shades.
out of here.
And
from the second that ball comes off the bat,
Howard
everybody
Wolf
knew it was
and,
out of the yard. That was a shot.
all the groups, I really did big groups, you know, a lot of wheezing, falsetto stuff.
Yeah, I remember that really well.
And Joe Houston. Remember Joe Houston? He played a tenor sax and he flattened his back and squeaked his octave.
The switch hitter will be the first to
Okay,
admit that
simultaneously though, I became aware of the
towards the
presence of
shortstop.
real music. Got a hold of
he's headed to second.
an album that I read about in Look magazine, I
Son
believe.
has
It was
himself
a
a
big
two-base
article they
hit.
did on Sam Goody's record
The
shop.
pitcher makes a mistake, the
Sam
hitter
Goody
jumps all
sells
over it.
records
That's
that
big
nobody
league
else
hit.
would buy. These people in New York are really crazy. They'll buy anything. There's this record that's all noise. It's so ugly nobody wants to listen to it. The name of it is Ionization by Edgar Varese. And I'm telling you, this thing is really ugly. And it's a sex
The
story
pitch.
for me. I looked all over town. I was
chops
living in
one to the
San
mound.
Diego, which is a little nuts town. And I could,
He reaches on the infield single.
I couldn't find it. Well, I gave up.
That's a smart
One
play
day
to
I
roll
went
the
into
ball.
the
No good could have come from a
it
throw
was
to
a
first.
hi-fi shop in a place called La Mesa. This is a town about this big. This big grows avocados. And I was going to buy a Joe Houston record to dance to because I want to learn how to do the bop. And there in the shelf is this gray album. It's got a picture of a guy in it with
Third out,
hair
we go
like
to the
this.
bottom of the inning.
It looked like a mad scientist, and it said, Ionizations, the complete works of Edgar Varese, Volume 1. And it was
After
all
3
yellow,
1/2,
man.
the
It'd been
score
sitting
is
there.
6-3.
I bought a few like that one.
Yeah, it was recorded in 1950. That record.
Next up,
So-
Cabrera.
Wow! Will you play that for me on one of your hi-fis? Because I had a little record player like this
Fastball
at the
missed
house.
low.
I said, no, man, look, do you want this thing? You know, he was really happy to get rid of it. You know, they wanted
Pitch
$6
misses.
for it. I got $4. Can I give you some now and give you some more later? He says, no, here, give me your money and take it. I left the Joe
Count is
Houston record and
3-0.
split with that and went home and put it on.
Some of these pitches
As,
ain't
you know,
even
it's so
close.
mysterious. I didn't know what was going to come out of it. I thought it was going to eat me
That's the
alive.
pitcher's
And I
fourth
put it
walk of
on,
the game.
and it was groovy. It really was.
Always seem to come around the
Ionizations
first.
was almost a sonata allegro for 13 percussionists playing 32
Cabrera
different
is running on
percussion
the
instruments,
pitch.
2 sirens,
He just stole second.
different size
Well,
bass
here's a perfect
drums,
example of the pitcher
different
forgetting all
size
about that
bass
base runner.
snare
He got a
drums,
big lead and stole it easily.
everything. It's just beautiful. And these woodwind things are on there, very different.
Jackson
effects.
lays off
All
high
the
for
things
a
are written
ball.
in the 20s and 30s and 40s and 60s. And it just blew my mind. So then I said, wow, that's classical music. I never heard any of that before, you know. I didn't start with Beethoven. I didn't even know what Beethoven was. In fact, I don't even like Beethoven, you know. I got onto the heavy stuff right away. So I went out and got a cheapy record of The Rite of Spring on the Camden label by the Worldwide Symphony Orchestra, which turned out to be a pretty good version because I've had about 5 records of that. So I had those 2 albums. I couldn't afford any more for like about 2 years, and I wore them out.
Ramirez could be
And
one of the
with
keys
that
of the
and my
game.
R&B
He can really
records, well, I
swing the
got
bat.
about 1,000 R&B records now, and I
There's
don't
strike
have the
two.
Rite of Spring,
Guy,
but I
you
still
do
got the
not
first
want to waste too many of these chances.
Now I've got
Let's see if
all
they can
the
come through with a
available
big hit right now.
recordings
Burn
of
scoring
music.
position.
Went out and bought the scores.
A 3-pitch strikeout.
Well, I
Hey,
could
the
get my
pitcher wins
hands
the
on.
battle. Sweet pitch to get the
And,
catch.
you know, really made a study of what he's doing. Then I heard about 12-tone music.
Pitch
Bought the
misses for a
complete
ball.
works of Anton Davis.
Sometimes you try to make the hitter chase your pitch. That's exactly what you saw right there.
And Pete Sternberg, and
2 balls, no
finally
strikes.
got a couple of things by Alton Did, and a big
He
pile
swiped
of
5
Bartok.
bases.
Got music for piano.
The count is
percussion.
2-2.
Great pitch in the black. Would have been a called strike even if the batter
I
didn't swing
just
through
lost
it.
my mind. The more dissonant it was, the better I dug it, you know. I went out trying to find,
Over the
I said,
outfield
well,
head.
this sounds like this, and this really knocks me out. And what could be weirder than that? There couldn't
A
be
run
anything weirder than that.
scores. That's an
I
RBI
kept-
double.
And looking for
Does a
albums
great
of
job
electronic
knocking the
music,
run. Look at
you
this.
know,
They're still threatening.
of which there's not enough on the market. The
1 on
only
and 2 outs.
real selection you can get is on European recordings, which are not widely distributed. So I made this whole collection of
No
contemporary
balls,
music.
2 strikes.
I don't. The only piece of music that I own, but might
He
be
leaps and
considered
makes the catch for the out.
consonant in
With
the normal
5 innings
sense.
left to play,
There's a
Chicago
thing,
trails by
Sweet
4.
Sharp Minor by Ernst von
The middle of the
Mann,
order will
and I
start
got
off
that
this
because
inning.
somebody gave it to me.
He is out there
It's
with
one of those
none
old
stuff.
Columbia 10-inch LPs. But everything else
0-1 the count.
seems to raise the hair on the back of your neck.
The bat went through the zone.
Wow, I don't think he went around that swing, and by the looks of things, I don't think the
Oh,
batter
FM
thought so
radio, I
either.
think, is also not as much, again, as
Turns
well,
on
FM
it
radio,
and
when
hits
you
it
listen
on
to
the
that
line.
kind of classical music is the same way
Base hit to lead off the inning.
the pop stations are in relation to
Oh,
your
sweet
music.
hitting right there, Kike. He
You
pulled the inside
don't
pitch for a
find
hit.
too much of, them playing that kind of music.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they're still stuck in the romantic early contemporary.
You hear Beethoven playing out of your ears.
Well, see, it's
And
like
here's the pitch.
everything in America tends to give
That one splits the
what's
outfielder.
impression of where it's really at.
Yeah. In fact, I don't know if there's any up in the coast. If you heard of
There's
it,
a
but
base
in
hit.
Connecticut,
Hitting is as much mellow as it is precise. The batter's got to know what he can do, what the situation is at
over and
all
over
times.
again. They begin with 40. They call it the top 40 classical favorites. And they would just play these 40 things in a row, and as soon as they were finished, they would play the same songs, the same sequence over and over again. Now they got to look up the top 100. And it was just, the same thing, one after the other.
Well, I'm sure
It's easier on the programmers, I imagine, but,
pronouncing those names.
yeah.
After you've been through the list 3 times, well, you really sound like, whoa.
1 ball and 1
and,
strike.
they probably have these gigantic reels of tape that they fell over, they rewind it and start the whole thing over again.
Yeah, it's on one of
That's in
those
foul
spools like
ground, but he
telephone
should have
wires.
room. In foul territory, makes the catch.
I hope it's, well, it happened with
More often than not,
when
this
the
guy hits for
regulations, FCC,
mediocre average.
demanded the station with both AM and FM
Out of the
outlets
zone,
have
that's a
different
ball.
programming at the time. So that's how the WLFM got started.
Yeah,
And hopefully,
accident.
Gets
hopefully
out
they'll,
towards short.
it'll
He'll pick it
make
up on a
more,
roll. Safe at first.
Another thing that's disgusting is the R&B stations, especially the ones in LA. They're so saturated with classic Motown, falsetto, rocking, big band bullshit, man. It makes you cry. It doesn't even sound colored anymore.
Miss low.
They don't play any country blues. You hear maybe they'll play one John Lee Hooker record every 6 weeks.
That one's
It's probably
way out.
here he is.
What a
Yeah,
shot.
blues favorite. Just get that fucker off of there and quickly
There
pressure
was
back
no
on.
doubt about that. You can see that thing was
Yeah,
out of here the
really
second
getting
it hit the
killed,
bat.
The jazz stations are just sick. They have a top 40 thing too.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the many aspects of what we do because that's one, and it's also one of the things that a lot of people didn't notice about
There's
the
some
Big Out
activity
album,
in the bullpen. Here
is
comes
that
the
it was
manager for a
drilled and
mound visit.
packaged very perfectly.
And the pitcher seems
Sold
even more
on
flustered
site.
after that trip to the mound.
When can you remember in the history of teenage bullshit music has an unknown group come out with
The
a
Red Sox
2-album
call for a
package
reliever.
that
They're
looked
going
like
to the
that? There
bullpen.
was a lot of grease behind that, and well, that was partly to do with the company taking a risk to put out a full color thing like that. But the packaging is part of the gag on
Swing
that.
and a miss on the pitch on the corner.
Sure. Yep. The only thing that
When I asked for some material on this, that was all I could get.
Swung and a miss at the high and
all I
tight
get is-
I took a
fastball.
couple of photos.
Well, anyway, this terrible bullshit layout.
Pull off,
This is
pulls
so
off,
disgusting.
and it's
This
1
is
and
the
2.
ugliest layout I've ever
Sometimes you
seen
try to make the
inside
hitter
of
chase
an
your
album.
pitch. That's exactly what you saw right
And
there.
I'm not responsible for any of it except the words.
Okay, this guy is one tough at bat.
Well, here's the way it works. They have an agency, and the artists rotate.
Line drive, base
Oh, I
hit.
got a job for you, Fred. What was it today? Oh, we got this
And that
album
makes
that's
3 hits for him in this game.
well, I don't know. Some
Tolar
of the
got a ball he
teenage
could
weird
hit,
stuff,
and he
you
hit it
know,
where they eat. That's a nice thing.
Need something a little different with the pictures. Get your pinking shears and make it cute. Something spiffy for the kids. Look, this is so irrelevant,
Johnson
man.
with
P.F.
the delivery
Sloan,
on
who
the
needs
0-1.
him, and Les McCann
Son
and
hits
Paul
one to right.
Butterfield.
He's
And
around
some of
second.
the enemies, as we call the enemies of MGM fans, and just
2 base hit.
Who captioned the photos?
Berkman did
I
his
did.
best to
That
prevent
was
extra
rare.
bases, but to no avail.
The only thing I'm responsible for on here is the text. All the cover design, Jack Anish. Okay, Jack, I got your number. I'll tell you,
You won't see this batter
I
hitting
am
the
doing
lights out
the
against
complete
right-handers.
layout on the album cover this time.
He's going back at the track.
For some reason, again,
It's
the
off
people
the
who listen
wall.
to this feel that what does he know about packaging? They just only hear music. What do you know about
A
packaging?
double and 2
Well,
RBIs.
I wish that we could have done an interview up there at the UNC. I went out and charged
Jones
$130
got a good
for
pitch
art
to hit and
supplies
drove it
for
where they weren't to
MCN.
score two
Gives me
and
like
sets
a
himself up to
complete
score
studio
another
up
on a
there in
base hit.
dingy
This is
little
how you have a
hotel
big
room,
inning.
Yesterday I sat in my chair for 13 and a half hours. I'm doing the mechanicals, the whole bullshit for putting this thing together. And it's really going to be a mind warper. Anyway, the packaging and its relationship to the music. We produce a product which is designed to become obsolete within 4 years, in keeping with the great American tradition of planned obsolescence.
Outside.
I could probably plot our success curve for you, but I don't think it'd be wise to reveal all those insights.
Hit to center field. Berkman should have no
I have a
problem.
pretty good idea of
And the
exactly
side
what's
is
going to
retired.
happen with this group.
After
And a
4
pretty
and a
good
half,
idea
the
of
score
what
is
the
8 to 7.
emotional impact of certain, it's just like Pavlovian reactions, lemons on television and all baloney.
Right.
The packaging is the equivalent of that sort of thing. At its best.
Miyagi takes inside.
We worked
Good
over
hard
on
sinker right there,
2 months,
trying to make a bat official.
advance, and we turned copy in.
And the count is 2-0. He's hitting 240 with no home runs and 5 RBIs.
And perhaps even 3 or 4 because I have enough now for a couple of articles on a couple of different places. One in the history of the group, one on the album.
It's hit out to center.
Could you
He's
project
got
a
it.
couple of months into it?
Nothing special about that one. He's
I
quick to
think
follow,
that,
you gotta make the play.
By the time
Stepping
3
in
months
at a
has rolled
perfect
around,
2 for 2.
that
Mike
he
Lowe.
will be known as
Pitch taken for a
something
ball.
other than here's this weird group from the coast, and I think it was Bob Sheldon's terrible mistake to label us the West Coast version of the Thugs, for which he apologized to me the other day. Thank God.
He didn't go through the zone
And
with that
I
swing.
think that we'll become known as a guiding force of pop music today within about 3 months. We will not actually be the guiding force, but that'll
They
be
check down
the
at
word
first.
going around.
No swing.
And you'll see, seeing how everything is
Hit towards the shortstop.
delayed so much by publication and things like that. Like, we're seeing a lot of freak out this and freak out that appearing in magazines now. Okay. Our second album will be released in February.
Dirksen takes ball
So the
1.
next album is called Absolutely Free. And what it is,
I'll tell you, partner, this
not
pitcher's
a
got
rock
to be
and roll
careful
album.
with this guy. He's
It's
got great wheels and
an
can turn a single
oratorio.
into
It's
a
rock
double
and roll.
with ease.
So it's an oratorio.
That
And
one
we include in
just
the album
missed.
the complete libretto for the oratorio. So each of the members of the group are
Taken
taking
for a ball.
character parts
Sometimes you
of
try to
the
make the
song.
hip chase
And
your
what it
pitch.
is,
It's exactly what you saw right
maybe
there.
8 songs that are edited together.
The count
and
runs full.
like that, like one continuous piece of music. And what it is
That'll do it for the Red Sox. And
a
there's 4 innings
panorama
left
of
to go.
American life today, including a section about 10 minutes long about a man in City
With
Hall
4 innings remaining,
who
the
has
Red
aesthetics
Sox
that
trail
fall
by
in
only 1 run.
13-year-old girls covered in chocolate syrup.
It's time
preferably
for the
his
3,
daughter.
4, and 5
The result
guys.
of which is he writes bad laws because he's always horny, he's never satisfied, he just can't get enough of them little girls. And it ranges from that to a song about vegetables.
On the ground,
People don't talk to vegetables enough.
1 out.
The version in the album is just about as long as the way we do it against instrumental stuff. Okay.
Ground ball
But
pulled
the
down to
idea
the
is
left
that it's
side.
all packaged to
2 out.
be more like what the music really is, and less like a hype. The initial packaging on this is, hey, look at this shit!
Yeah.
A ball.
$3 and 12 cents for the Mayfair market. I'll take it. So it's going for, I'll let you know. Okay. Now the packaging comes closer down to what is a little bit more tasteful interior. The
Hit
cover
towards the
is
shortstop.
going to be a little less garish.
Johnson
The
retires the
cover
side
is
in order.
it
Going
opens
into the
like
bottom
this.
of the sixth. The score is 8-7.
There at the top. Another
Next
a
up
black
the
and
board,
white
Lance
picture of
Berkman.
me
Although this
from
guy
here,
hits both
like
ways,
this.
his
This
swing is so
bleeds
much more
into this
refined
collage
batting right-handed.
of all the other guys in the group, just all distorted. It makes them look like they're all genetically reformed.
He's batting
And this will all be,
266 with
processed
16
straight
long
black and
balls
white,
and
you know,
58
half
runs
tone.
batted in.
Lines there.
2
This
and
will be
1.
in color up here, black and white. Then down at the bottom, we have a picture of a distorted, ugly
That one's
American
rolled to
city,
second.
hand-drawn
That's the
in
first out.
Marvy markers, with a big lettering
Cabrera will
thing,
hit
kind of
next.
like pop art Ben-Hur. It goes absolutely free when the free is falling off the side of the page, and then it'll look like a terrible calendar when you open it up.
Hit down the
Like,
line.
in a rack, you'll see it like this, and it'll look fairly straight. It'll look like
He's on first with a base hit.
theme music from
The
a
Red
motion
Sox
picture.
are calling down to the pen to get a
Picture of
right-hander
me,
warming up.
and it's done a very dark and dramatic, and it looked like something in Georgia to
Jackson
Greece.
is up.
Like I just lost my 3 pennies I was going to get a favorite.
He's breaking for
On the
second.
inside, there's a couple more
Into
collages
second
put
safely with
together
a
with
steal.
pieces from the Buchanan Mountain Goat catalog. Everything there?
No, maybe in the nut and bolt catalog.
Well, the illustrations are all hand engraved. This is from about 1920.
Oh, yeah.
It's really beautiful. And so this side over
Makes
here
a
will be
pitch
like a
high.
black rectangle with these things, the nuts and bolts are here in white. And the people all, on this side, another collage of the mother's growing out of my hair. And very fancy. Yeah. Medusa
He
type
checks
thing.
his swing.
And it looks like here in very ornate Florentine letters.
That's 4 strikeouts.
Well, you're thinking
Partner, he gets ahead of him and never
Well,
looks back. Sweet strikeout.
clean American version, steak and simple, libretto, part
Next,
1 and 2.
Manny Ramirez.
All the words, including all the
Runner on
ad-lib
second with 2 down.
bullshit that we did on the side.
Pitch misses for a ball.
And, it really looked
Here's
like
the
a
1-0 delivery.
class day. And then when I put the record in, it was really done for it. Because they took a giant step forward by adding more guys to the band. The only instruments that are added on this album are one trumpet, a string quartet, and a concert bass clarinet
He reaches with a single.
on one song.
Kai, if you
All
can
the rest
stick
of
a
the
fork
stuff
in
is
this
the
guy,
guys
he
in
is
the group.
done. They need to go to the bullpen right now and get things back on track.
This is a fairly permanent lineup.
The White Sox are
That's
warming some
emphasized in the
relievers in
article.
the
The
bullpen.
thing is how the guys join and quit at will, because I would never force anybody to play my music. They only stay if they want to. These are today's mothers. I'll give you a list of their names, which may change for the next 15 or 20 minutes.
Is there any basic instrumentation of it you would like to hear?
You want to know the instrumentation of my ideal mother's rock and roll band? Oh
I think
boy.
that's a great instrumentation.
It's just off the blade.
Well, I won't be happy until the band consists of 2
Makes
piccolos,
a pitch high.
Sometimes you try to make the hitter chase your pitch. That's exactly what you saw right there.
2 oboes, English horn, 3 bassoons,
2 balls and 1
concert
strike.
bassoon, 4 clarinets,
That's
4
walk
double
number
and
5
alto
allowed in
clarinet,
this game.
bass clarinet, concert
I thought he was
bass,
nibbling too much, and the umpire wasn't giving it to him.
piano, alto, tenor, baritone, and bass sax, 4 trumpets, 4 French
0
horns,
and 1.
3 trombones, 1 bass trombone, 1 tuba, 1 contrabass tuba,
1
2
ball,
harps,
1 strike.
2 keyboard men playing piano, electric piano, electric harpsichord, electric clavichord, Hammond organ,
Down he goes on strikes.
Piano base.
With 3 innings left to play, the White Sox lead
10
8-7.
first violin, 10 second
Today's
violin.
game is brought to you by EA Sports. EA Sports, it's in the game.
Cellos. 4 string bass.
Liner right at the second baseman.
The 4
Good
percussionists
start
have
to
to
the
play.
inning. A leadoff single.
10
From the time
pitching.
that ball at the bat,
12
that ball
pitching.
had no chance of being caught.
Chimes, gongs, field drums, bass drums, snare drums, wood blocks.
What is
The pitch.
Field drum is the same as a snare drum.
One ball
It's
and
very
one strike.
deep and
kind of using parade?
yeah, parade drum. Lion's roar,
And he hits it to left.
vibe.
God, that's not an easy play to
South
make it off.
on the
He's
left.
really flashed the leather there.
Then we have 3 electric guitars, 1
He
electric
strikes
12-string
5
guitar,
bases.
electric bass, an electric bass guitar,
swung
which
through
is
the pitch.
an
He's
octuploid
batting
on a guitar with 6
.275
strings,
with 16 long balls and 41 RBIs.
and 2 drummers at set,
Tolar taking, and it's inside.
plus vocalists.
Swing and a miss, struck him out.
Okay, partner, that was the swing of the guy who was not expecting a breaking ball. Strike
You gotta get 4 guys to
3,
play all
see.
these instruments on recording, just overdub.
I want to do it live. I think people are entitled to hear that kind of music live. I think that kids would go to concerts if they could hear music that knocked them out.
The
I think
count's
that the
0-1.
concert halls would change over to a more modern type of programming. They would find that the place would be crawling
Sends it
with
foul.
kids. It would be the new in thing to do to make it to,
So far
you know,
today,
go
this guy
through
is hitting
somebody's
everything
play.
in sight.
And we're making some kind of headway in that department because we find that a lot of people pretend like they can't
Spoil the
dance to
pitch,
our music,
foul.
which is total bullshit. You can dance to it. I mean, I'm nearly an epileptic, and I can make it, you know.
No swing.
A lot of people choose not to dance to it. They will sit and listen to it. Now, it's not because
Swing
they
and a
enjoy
miss,
the
struck him
music
out.
yet. I got them wired. The only reason they will sit there and listen is because they're waiting to find out whether or not they like the music.
7th inning stretch.
Because it doesn't
Didn't
sound
you
like
sing
what they've
recently,
been used to
Wrigley
hearing.
Field?
Oh, I
And they
sure
wanna,
did. When I was in the league, I could
get
pitch in
their
front of
ears accustomed
50,000
to it.
people,
And
but
that's
that was
the
like
reason
going to
why
my
a lot of
backyard
times you
singing to
see
take me out to the ball
some
game
of
at
our
Wrigley.
they're like
I was
this.
scared to death.
Sometimes they don't even clap.
I noticed the night I was there, when the response wasn't enthusiastic, I was expected it to be.
We don't have fans in that sense, you know, where they're going to come there. A fan,
Well, not even that, but just to say, just as far as showing the appreciation for, the fantastic sound that we got out of the group.
Miyagi plays off outside for a
Even
ball.
if the
Looked like the pitcher and catcher have a
you're really
strategy
getting
in
a
mind.
sound
So
that's
far, the batters are
like no
taking
one
these
else's
pitches.
sound, and it has a full sound, and well, I like it very much.
we're doing the best we can with what
Didn't
we
get good
got.
wood on that
Still
one
not
at
what I
all.
really want to
Flips
hear
it to
out
the
of
pitcher,
it.
running to first.
I believe the
He's out
potential
on an
for the
easy play.
instrumentation that we have
At bat with a couple
is
of
very
singles.
great,
Mike
but it's
Love.
not being used well enough. For one thing, our equipment is bad. So far, I haven't found any equipment outside of the,
Lowell pops it up to the catcher.
it just isn't the right kind of equipment
He
yet.
makes the
For
play.
us
The
to
manufacturers still aren't making.
Yeah, they aren't making the kind of
Dirksen
stuff that
comes
make
to
the
the
kind of
plate.
noises that I want to make on a bandstand. The tone, the sound of the amplifiers tends to break up at high volume levels. To induce a hypnosis in an audience, you have to have 2 things.
Grounded
One,
to the right side.
that sustained volume. You have to have, it's like certain keys tend to be more hypnotic than other keys.
The pitch is hit to center
And you
field.
need to limit the
That'll do
amount
it
of
for the
harmonic
inning.
movement. Like a lot
After
of
7th, the score is 8-7.
psychedelic bullshit.
What I mean is
Yeah.
that
Coming up this inning, the
I
1,
asked
2, and 3
Joe
hitters.
Mira up in the night album, psychedelic music. Oh, that's loud, you know, it's out of tune.
The
It's
Red
crazy
Sox
music,
turn
you
it
can't
over to the
understand it.
pen. They brought in the righty, Scott
But
Williamson.
that's a little different than what we do. Our music is fairly logical. For our spontaneous outbursts
Jones
are
takes low
fairly
for a ball.
logical in
He
terms
swiped
of what
one
they
base.
accomplish.
Yeah, I noticed you have a very firm hand in directing your hand as far as giving
1-1 count.
You know, you take an 8-piece band and not direct them, and you'll have psychedelic music.
Hit towards the shortstop.
We
They
rehearse
got him. The White
average
Sox
about
have someone up in the
12
bullpen.
hours per song. When the songs are learned in sections, there'll be the front part, the recognizable, you know, like the
Here's
girl
the
on the front of the
pitch.
ship. That part, and then we have
Swung on
interlude
it.
A,
There it
interlude
goes.
B, and certain cues that they have to remember for each song.
I look upon them as movement.
Yeah.
He knew that one was gone the second
We
he
try
hit.
and make
What a
each
shot.
set that we do there one continuous piece of music, and that would include the dialogue between the songs. We like to think of what we do is we got to play an opera for the people if they perceive it that way.
0-1 count.
Somewhere it's only about an hour and a half when we get carried away. That's about opera length. And
Well, even opera, I think, is an outdated term because it's describing one form. You're really using something completely new. I mean, you're using an old term because you have no other basis of reference.
well, it's like people saying psychedelic
Right,
music.
that's what I mean. It's just a handle that you grab onto. to
Pitchers
describe it.
ahead, 1 and
But in
2.
reality, it's something, it doesn't really fit into the strict confines of the opera.
The count is even at
Theater,
2.
actually.
Sometimes you try to make the hitter chase your pitch. That's
We
exactly
have
what you saw right
a
there.
plan underway to open a show here this summer, a musical.
The right fielder makes
like
the
the
catch.
Tracked that ball very well off the bat. Camped under it. Made the easy play.
It's going to be a musical
There's
science
pitch.
fiction horror story. Now, you know anything about the life of Lenny Bruce, who is having to be a friend of mine and of our manager.
It's something, I don't know what, I got the album.
He swiped one
Still Really
base.
Good. And
What's that?
on Capitol.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, actually, it's a subsidiary called Probe.
And it's 1
I
and
just
2.
heard this with it.
Sometimes you try to make the hitter chase your pitch.
I don't,
That's
I
exactly
don't know
what
why,
you saw
but
right
before
there.
you came out, I was thinking of asking you something about Lenny Bruce.
There's a line drive.
Yeah, I just,
Lenny, man.
That's another base hit.
He was a saint. That guy really was. You know what he's been doing for the, maybe 5 years or so, since he really got into it.
The bullpen is stirring, so he just
I
wants
haven't
to
read
come
the
out
book.
and
Does
give
it
the
tell
bullpen
about
some more time.
his researches
Sometimes a
into
trip
the
to the
law and
mound
all
will do
that?
nothing but get the pitcher thinking too much, which
He
usually
lived up the
means
hill
trouble.
from us in Hollywood.
Bringing in the lefty here is a
So
good
this
move
guy
because left-handed
that's helping
hitters can
put
have
together
trouble
our
picking up
PA
their breaking
system.
pitches.
And like John found him when it was wrong. And he sit for 14 hours in his room
Sent on the ground to the
typing up
left
briefs
side.
on cases, man,
That takes care of the
researching
side with the runner
constitutional
left
law,
on first.
trying to find out,
Going
what the
into the
facts
bottom of the
really
eighth,
were and what
Boston
you were
trails
entitled
by
to
2.
do within the law.
The White
And I
Sox
think
go to
that
the
for
bullpen.
anybody
Here
to
comes a new pitcher.
devote 14 hours a day to anything, man, gives him, you ought to get a medal just for that. But he
Stepping
was
in
really
1
into
for
it. He
4.
really wrote the
Lance
law.
Berkman.
And wanted to see it work. I think it was what the big machine of America did to Lenny Bruce is pretty disgusting. And
And it's 0-2.
it ranks with civil rights as one of the big pimples on the face of American
On the ground, cuts it
culture.
off, gets it to the pitcher, covering
Nobody will ever
first.
find out about it.
Easy play, and he's out. Stepping in, Miguel Cabrera. Pitch taken for a ball.
Sometimes you try to make the hitter chase your pitch. That's exactly what you saw right there. Oh, he got away with that pitch right there, Kyle. That batter's got to be ticked off himself.
Remember that Delmont?
As a matter of fact, what you're saying about facility need,
He
I
swiped
think there
16
really is
bases.
no other group that is catered to the oldies team. So that we've given them anything to listen to.
Yeah.
And I got especially good kick out of that because I remember a lot of that music, when I was a child. And
Let me tell you, to me, that is
Swing and a
the
miss,
only
struck him
real
out.
folk music that Americans can
Jackson
look
makes
at.
his way to the
I
plate.
mean, what they hear now as folk music, it's outside of field recording.
A ball.
Folk singers and that stuff. That's not folk music, man. That's somebody's interpretation of the song they heard. That's baloney. you can still buy some of those records. Those records were songs, I mean, at their best, not the ones that were manufactured in some office here in town. I got a song with these kids, get these speakers up here and make them record. You know,
That'll do it for the Red Sox.
Bernie's got a girlfriend. Her name is
This dude did
Wanda.
not bring his A game in, but hey, in fairness,
Wanda
you
is
can't be
not going to
on
go with
all
him to
the
the
time.
dance because his face broke out, but he loves Wanda. And
It
he's
all
going to write a
comes down
song
to
about
this,
it. And
the
he and his
final
buddies
inning.
from the street get together and rehearse for 6 months.
They harmonize in the boys' room during recess at school.
Absolutely,
on street corners.
And that's folk music. And those words, I don't give a fuck how simple people, you know. Those words are terrible.
Good start to the inning. The leadoff
But
single.
that's soul, man.
They're saying it the only way they know how.
The White Sox have someone tossing in the bullpen.
And it's sort of amusing some of them to laugh at the naivety and they smile. But this is, you know, what these guys do, you know, the way they feel.
Here's another way to perceive it. Man, there's so much tragedy in that music when you see that is naive, man. The way that those people
Nobody out.
are singing about their social sexual relationships with their idol, their girl thing, their strapped gestalt.
And on 3 pitches, he's gone.
Perverted.
Never looks back.
That
Sweet
you are seeing,
strikeout.
like all the music that was on those records from 1950 to 57 or 58.
Swung through that ball
It's just
down.
A bunt right now and move that runner into
it's a
position. where
phenomenon,
Sagan can
man. That
score.
is like a mirror held
He
up to the
delivers.
society that had perverted that youth.
That's in foul ground, but he should have
And
room.
all the parents which
In
in turn
foul
perverted that
territory,
youth
makes the
to
catch.
produce a folk product like that. That music tells where the kids were really at. And that's tragic, man. And if you
When
want
this
to
guy
do
hit
some
cut, the infielder should be on their toes. This
motivational
guy's got some
research,
great
and a lot of
wheels.
the things that I know about what an audience and what's
Hit to
going to
left
happen in
field.
their heads and what's going to happen to their glands, you can
There's
learn
out
from
number
listening to
3.
those records, man. Let's go
Going
to
into the bottom of the
place where they
ninth,
sell old
Boston
junk
trails
records
by
and grab a
2.
fistful and take them home and listen
They're
to them
making a
until your
defensive
ears
switch.
bleed.
In
And you'll
comes the
see.
new third
They
baseman.
tell you exactly where they're at. People always tell you where they're at. They always tell you where they want to be at, too, if you listen to that.
Stepping in, 1 for 2.
You can find some way to get them from where they are to where they want to be. You're fulfilling a need, a desperate need in the society. And those songs were all, in reality, they were just
Behind in the count.
outcries. Help
Great
me.
pitch
Oh,
to the black.
no, I
Strike
really
even
don't
better
dig
than swing
Wanda.
through.
She's a pig, but the
Takes
best
a
I
pitch
can
high.
do. Oh, you know, I can't help it
Sometimes
about
you try
that
to make
simple,
it
you know.
It's exactly what you saw right there.
There's one thing that
They appeal to first on the check swing.
There's sort of crazy revolution. This is from the male fashion.
He's going back at the track, the wall. Indeed, trouble as it bounces up against the wall.
Well,
2-base
I'm
hit.
going to say this is
That was not an easy pitch to hit. He was able to lay it down.
The new sports, and sunglasses, sitting on a coach with a nose and sunglasses, sitting in the
Tan
shade,
shoes
sitting
with
in
tan laces.
Right. So they're, reflecting teenage fashions, which, even though I think teenage is the most fashion conscious now, they don't seem to be
Takes the first pitch high.
But back to pitcher and catcher have a
It's part
strategy
of
in
the
mind. So
makeup
far, the
songs
batters are
about
taking these pitches.
Sadie Levi's and,
One ball and 1 strike.
Now let's see if he can take advantage of the runner on
well, I'll
second
tell you
base and
why
drive
they're
him
not
in.
fashion songs. I'm kidding. Maybe
Falls
there are.
behind
Maybe
on the
there's some
swing
on
and
the
a
radio. I don't think that the public ever really wanted those fashion songs, except during that period, 10, 12 years
He goes
ago, you
down
wanted
on
to go out on a
strikes.
date, you had to punch out your father. I need the key to the car.
He talked about making
When do
a
you want
good
the
pitch
car
right
plate?
there. He was really backed up against the wall,
Still
and then he
watching
digs
television,
deep,
you know.
makes
And it
great
was a hassle.
pitches,
They
and
didn't
gets
want to
the
let you out of the
strikeout.
house. The teenagers were still trying to break away from their environment. Now, today in California, hopping with the key to the car,
Here's the
what's the only
delivery.
thing? How much money do you need?
Mahomes
Like
lays
that.
off inside for a ball.
But back to pitcher and catcher have a strategy in mind. So far, the
That's
batters
what
are
it's
taking
gotten
these
to,
pitches.
man. The kids got out of the house.
Misses
Now
for a
they're
ball.
the fools. They got their freedom. They don't know what the fuck to do with it. They just don't realize that their parents never really had control of anything. Their parents didn't have control of their own emotions or their own
He walks him on 4
their own
pitches.
destiny, to say
Oh, it's
the
too bad
least.
he watched this guy. He just lets him get
Their
away.
parents didn't have anything. And the kids have got it by the balls, man. They could cripple this fucking country if they wanted to by not drinking Coca-Cola for 6 months. And if they find out, man, they would rule the world. I tell you, you want to put your magazine on the map? You do an article that would tell the team.
They're making a substitution.
Well, we're going to write you a little story. This is maybe you can think that this is just a fairy tale. You want to give them the actual things, the facts. This is how Madison Avenue regards you. You are this valuable in terms of the market. Okay. Here is what you could do if you really wanted to take over. If you could show them that. Listen, a step-by-step article on how to conquer the United States. Be the first kid on your block to rule the country. You could suggest that they stop drinking soft drinks. You could suggest that if everybody in their particular town decided to walk more and drive less, gasoline sales are going to go down. You multiply that by nationwide. You know what that would do? You would force major concerns to lobby in an 18-year-old vote. You know what you better than Teen Power. It would be an insane thing, like a magazine in itself. Just, like a one-shot magazine you would, like Teen Power. And I think that you'd have people screaming for the second issue. How to take over the United States, man, with a bottle of soda pop would be unbelievable. With common household appliances, you could rule the world.
Well, I remember there was a gag in Mad Magazine, one of those takeoff ones. One of the villains plots to destroy the world economy was to make counterfeit Coke bottles and turn them into deposits. And,
they could have Coke bottle breaking protest marches.
I wonder if there would be enough of them to get together to,
I'll tell you what, I wondered whether anybody outside of Los Angeles would buy our record, without being made to buy it by promotional hype. And I feel was wrong. Because there are kids all over the country in the small towns. Do you know what it's like to have a brain, anything larger than a raisin, and live in a small town? Agony, man. Those kids are waiting to do something.
Eric Anderson does a song about that. About what it's like to sort of be hit in a small town, small-minded people all around you. And it's a really good song.
But it's real, man. Those people are just sort of popping out and fiddling around saying, well, listen, it's almost 5 o'clock, and that's the thing that really hangs me up about New York, man. Everything quits at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
In L.A., if I want to work 36 hours a day, I know at least if I want to get something to eat, there's going to be someplace open nearby.
Well, there are places in Midtown that are open.
Yeah? Well, not offices. I mean, the business just seems to stop. It's not like everybody really wants to make it 8 to 5. Even in show business here, it's 8 to 5.
Yeah.
We go to get into the hall where we're working, man. The guy says, I don't get down here until after 4:30. You can't get in. If we want to rehearse at 9 o'clock, can't do it. There is definitely a revolutionary tendency. Among the people who are alive and well and thinking in the United States today, of all ages, they're getting to the point where they're fed up enough with the way things are and the way things have been, and also can see just a glimmer of hope that they could change it. Now it's possible at this point in history to change things.
That's true. Do you think the West Coast riots, for example, are an example of this, of teens just starting to realize
Absolutely.
that somebody is trying to, the real estate people, whoever it is, trying to put them down, and they're rebelling against it? Absolutely.
But the thing is, the type of leadership that rises out of that was kind of a spontaneous thing. So you've got this CAF, which is a organization to help the kids. Well, I think it's a hype. I don't think they're really going to help the kids. They have raised some money for bail bonds, and do you know about the organization and who's in it?
No.
Derek Taylor, Bob Denver, Gene Clark, some millionaire, Van Reventlow.
Yeah, Lance Reventlow, yeah.
And it was, written up in the underground press in L.A. that was going to happen, but I have yet to see anything really revolutionary come out of it. What it is like a defense mechanism. It's not a leadership device. It's something to help the kids if they get in trouble.
Right.
But that doesn't.
But it doesn't. It's sort of it's a cure, but it's not a preventative thing.
Well, you don't want a cure. Yeah.
And it's sort of, and it was a cure after the disease is already struck.
Yeah. But see, it's not a disease.
Or whatever. You
The
know,
kids are the cure.
Yeah.
You know, the kids are the cure.
What I mean is the organization, in other words, is sort of taking care of things after something happens rather than trying to prevent it from happening in the first place. Or getting around it somehow.
You see,
Or meeting it head on.
it shouldn't have prevented it from happening. It should have made it happen.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You see, that's the thing. The kids are what's right,
Right,
as far as
yeah,
I'm
right.
concerned. And I think the real estate owners
What I mean
here
is,
and there.
when I say by prevented, I should say prevented, somehow try to prevent the real estate people from making the situation.
That's right. They
Yeah.
should have, because you know what Sunset Boulevard is really like? You ever been there?
No, I haven't.
Sunset Boulevard is one story mostly, all the way down the line. I mean, the strip, which lasts maybe about a mile. And it used to be really groovy with this one club called the Strip, which is
Yeah.
about the middle of the strip. And then a lot of police harassment, and they changed the type of music that they played in the Trip, and the kids went to the Whiskey A Go-Go. There's maybe 3 or 4 long hair, new music dance places in the whole of metropolitan Hippieville there. And they're spread out.
What are they now?
Let's see, you've got the Whiskey A Go-Go, you've got the Brave New World, you've got Vito Litos, and you've got Pandora's Box, is still open part of the time, and you've got the Sea Witch. Except for the Whiskey A Go-Go, all the rest of them, if you put them together, would probably equal the Whiskey A Go-Go. They're this big, you know. The Whiskey A Go-Go books name acts, and the other places have local groups, you know. Oh, and there's one other place up on Cahuenga. The Maze or something like that. But they're all dying because the police department is stamping out dancing. Now, they know, now, remember how strong this appeal is to the primitive mind, which is the motivation level of most of these kids, that dancing in the animal sense on the West Coast is different than here. They don't dance rigid stereotype routines. They just get out there and they dance what's inside of them. They'll dance by themselves. They'll dance 6 or 7 at a time, and it's scary to watch, man. If you're a policeman and you see those kids dancing, we played this one show called the Guambo, which stands for Great Underground Artist Orgy and Mass Ball and Orgy or something like that. Anyway, they expected 500 kids to turn up to this place called the Aerospace Hall. Cops came over there. Oh, we don't want 500 kids dancing, man, in one place. You kidding? And L.A., all these freaks dancing, it scared me to death. There's no place in town that holds 500 kids, right? Police went down there to the Aerospace Hall, said, we're going to take your liquor license, your health permit. We're going to take it all away if you let those kids in this door the day before it was supposed to happen, with 3 weeks of advertising out. See? Okay, so the Free Press, the LA Free Press, the underground newspaper there, which was sponsoring the event, says, oh no, what do? We got all this bread sunk into it. It would have almost, been a financial disaster for the paper, and the police just fucked them up. And they had a contract with the hall and everything. So, on one day's notice, they moved it completely out of Hollywood to a relatively unsavory part of town at 6th and Western, which is not hip at all, to a place called the Danish Community Center, which holds 900 kids on the 3rd floor. And one day, they moved all their stuff down there and put the word of mouth out, and had a couple of people waiting at the Aerospace Hall to say, it's down there. And 3,000 kids turned up, man, just from under the rocks, and these weird-looking people. And they're standing in the street, and they're saying, who are the brain police, and it can't happen here. And all of a sudden, like about 300 policemen. That was like 10 kids to every cop show up to try and control it. It was 20 across on the steps going up like this. I couldn't even hardly get into the place to play. For like up 2 flights of stairs, and the people were just, it was insane, and the building was going to collapse. And the cops were just panic-stricken. They stood around like this, real nice, you know, and didn't give anybody any trouble. It was just unbelievable.
Wow.
So, after that, they said, oh, look, man, this is 3,000 freaks. We had no idea there was that many of them here in town. Then we started putting on these freak-outs at the Shrine Exposition Hall, which is an even less savory part of the town, down next to Watts.
Wow.
And I think the most we had down there was about 5,000. And then the police just started clamping down. They're trying to stamp out dancing. You can't get a dance license, hardly. When you want to open up a new dance place, they won't license the place for dancing. You can't make any bread unless you let people dance.
And there aren't really enough listening rooms? They're like, the Go-Go's and Night Owls?
Well, the Go-Go, you dance. Oh, you mean the Go-Go here?
Go-Go, yeah.
Oh, they don't have that kind of thing there. Nobody goes to listen. They go to dance. I don't give a shit what it is. They will dance to our music back there. We play, you know, the way the rhythms change and everything. That's the main difference for them. They're dancing to their own music. They just want to get out there and really get it on, you know. So our music was kind of designed around that type of police brutality, social pressure environment. And like I announced when we first got here to town, before we even played a note, I said, I don't know whether you people are going to dig what we do or not, because the cops aren't as bad here. You don't have the same pressure and everything. It looks like it'd probably be a lot groovier here. And I'm surprised if they like it.
Has it been getting better, the reaction?
Yeah. Listen, we're getting very good response here.
Do you plan to, sort of station yourselves here in the East for a short time and, play a bit before you go back home?
We'll be here until after the first of the year, and then we got some concerts in